Learn of more tales from the threat from the Sea Trilogy by Mel Odom. Experience Swahagan, sea elves, and other creatures of the deep. Hello and welcome to Liam's Lyceum. I'm your host Liam, aka Himbar, and today I'll be doing a spoiler-free review of Philip Athans' Realms of the Deep. The Deep is a 2000 anthology edited by Philip Athans. The anthology contains 12 stories about the 12th Saros War and the Forgotten Realms, and these stories span from the Sea of Swords to the Sea of Falling Stars. Realms of the Deep is the accompanying anthology to the Threat from the Sea Trilogy by Mel Odom. It's only the fourth anthology I've read on my quest so far to read all the Forgotten Realms novels, the others being Halls of Stormweather, Realms of War, and Best of Realms 2. The last one's the only one I have a review for on this channel, but I have reviewed each book in the Threat from the Sea Trilogy, starting with Rising Tide. Now, this also concludes the fiction content for this Realms event, with one other short story being Dark Legacy, which I will not review here, but you can go check out that review on my blog, because that is not the story in this anthology, it's in a magazine. Now, the first story is Our Choices. It's by Lynn Abbey and takes place on the 19th of Chess in the year of the Gauntlet. The story is about sea elves who are new refugees in service of the Triton King. That beacon has just been destroyed by the Swahagan. It turns out one of those sea elves is a Melenti, a Swahagan that looks like a sea elf, just like Lacriel in the trilogy. This is a story of fate, similar to something like Before the Firing Squad by John Chiolis. It's a rare Lynn Abbey realm story that you should appreciate while it lasts, and I enjoyed it. Fire is Fire by Lynn Cunningham takes place on the 30th of Chess the same year. A wizard associated with Kelvin Blackstaff is the main character, and his parts are told in the first person. This is a young and arrogant wizard tutored by the Archmage. He seeks glory in the attack on Waterdeep by the Swahagan and the battle that commenced in the first story. There's also another character, a first-person account of the Swahagan. It was odd switching into another point of view in the first person in the same story, and it being a short story. The idea of fire is fire brings about respect and a great comparison to the Swahagan mantra of meat is meat, and which you hear a lot in the trilogy. Cunningham definitely has some talent, but I've only ever read some of her short stories so far. I think this might be the third or fourth short story I've read by her. I'm very much looking forward to her novels, especially her Forgotten Realms ones. And then story number 3 is Messenger of Saros by Peter Archer. It takes place on the 10th of Tarsak. Once again, in the same year, Thraxos needs to find a way to Saros to warn the good sea peoples in the inner sea of the battle at Waterdeep. There's not really much to comment on besides that, though. I mean, it's interesting. It's fun, but that's the gist of the plot. The place where guards sleep at their post by Ed Greenwood takes place on the 9th of Kythorn. This is a cheeky story set around Mintarn, which is an island nation. We have bits from Brandor, a black buckle apprentice mage. This is a fantastic ending involving burning oysters in the barrel, and this one also appears in the Best of Realms 2, which again I previously reviewed on this channel. Lost Cause by Richard Lee Byers is set on the 17th of Kythorn. It's told in the first person. Our main character is ex-military. His name is Sergeant Kendrick. This is a battle sequence that is really immersive with great imagery, unique voices for the soldiers, and raw human emotion. This is redemption and pride. Hylas and Aquander with Kendrick make a great cast as well, and this takes place in Port Last, and the foes are actually crabmen allied with the Swahagan, which is also a nice change of pace. And this may be one of Byers' first Forgotten Realms stories. I know he kind of became a common household name in Forgotten Realms, but in 2000 I'm not sure he was quite there yet, so this may be one of his first novels or stories. I need to look into that more. Forge and Fire by Clayton Emery takes place on the 22nd of Kythorn. This is a story about pirates. It starts in Medias Res as pirates are boarding a merchant vessel. It seems to be set in the sea near Kalimshan. This time we need enemies to work together, and Emery makes sure we know there are plenty of female pirates as well, which is cool. One Who Swims with Sokola by Mel Odom is set on the 4th of Flammariel. This seems to be the longest in the anthology, and it being from the man largely behind the Threat from the Sea, or the 12 Seraphs War, it makes sense. This describes the breaking of the Sharksbane Wall that occurs later in the trilogy. It follows Lacriel and her service to Iakovos, so those who have read the trilogy will probably like this edition even if they don't want to read the rest of the stories. The Crystal Reef by Troy Denning is set on the 8th of Flammariel on the small island west of Tharsolt. And there lies a crystal wreath protected by a couple of giants on a small island. The story is kicked into motion because a fleet of ships is suddenly anchored off the reef. This is a story of sacrifice, and it's a little sad. The Patrol by Larry Hobbs takes place on the 10th of Flame Rule. A watchman in the port city of Simbar is our protagonist. He is the third son of a noble known as a hero, so he is in a scuffle on the streets and ends up getting berated by a superior. It's fine, but I feel like I've read it before. It's just a story of someone feeling like he needs to live up to his great parents, essentially. The Star of Tether by Thomas and Reed is next. This one is about the new flagship of the Tether fleet, though it doesn't take place on said ship. It takes place on a ship, a different ship in that fleet. Our main character is a young sailor, and it's about his chance to aid this ship when the Sahuagin attack. And then Parsana's Blade by Stephen Ushind is the penultimate story. A young Triton is involved in a Morgoth attack and must protect his little sister. And The Dark Tide Rises by Keith Francis Strom takes place in Morktar, with an outsider youth being our protagonist. I found it a little tedious since it was the fourth story in a row about a young man. It's not bad, though. It's an enchanting tale of the sea and belonging. This is my first time reading stories by Archer, Hobbs, and Strom, and the rest are all, again, veterans of the realms that I've read in novels or short stories before. Overall, I really enjoyed my time, and I look forward to getting into more of the realms of anthologies, but this is a good one, especially if you want some sea stories. If you like short stories, if you don't like short stories, you should remedy that, because they're good. And then if you maybe want to try to see if you like Rising Tide, or if you bounce off Rising Tide or the Threat from the Sea novels by Odom, maybe this would work better for you, as a little different for sure. But I like sea stories, so it's nice to have a whole 12 of them here. Anyways, this is Liam from Liam's Lyceum. Again, you can check out my blog, ForgottenRealmsReading.com. It's Forgotten Realms Lyceum, and I do a bunch of Forgotten Realms stuff there. I try to post every Monday, for those unaware. So anyways, I will catch you next time.